So, I have said we've been in dictatorship, hard dictatorship, even without 4-year respite for a decade now. Even before the election, things were moving in a direction that was worse. Backlash is a crazy thing. And I think about the 2008 election and the backlash, and that's some of what's going on. And it's racist. This country has some real bad problems with being racist. All right, so what is that? Do we need to talk about that? What I want to talk about is when there is dictatorship and the name of that person and depictions of that person and photographs of that person. Do people, what does that do? Do different people have different responses? Because I kind of tend to think that many references and showing pictures of that person make that person more powerful. Because if people are afraid, then they might feel fear, and that just kind of it can immobilize a person, or it gets in the way. We know we know there's a dictator, and we know the dictator has friends. Should we what should we say? Cronies. I don't know what word to use. I mean, the dictator has people that are benefiting from the dictator being in the position he's in, and I think some of those persons possibly help to get that person. And it's a strange thing to think about when you think about reality TV and you think about, I mean, it's just like, God damn, man, what a clusterfuck. All right, so, people would, when you think about TV and you think about people watching TV and you think about sort of effects of that, and I mean, that's a whole class or two, really, like semester long, probably. But when you think about someone that was on reality TV, and now a dictator, and I mean, and I mean, it's really sad to think about this. How did reality TV get started? Well, from what I understand, there was a writer's strike, so that was a way of doing something. All right. Well, why was there a writer's strike? Well, people were not being paid enough and things like that, and that's important. Well, what are people doing when they consume television? So again, it just kind of goes round and round. And yeah, so again, when there's a dictatorship and you keep seeing images of that person, and even in things that are, opposed to the dictatorship, it's like, that ain't helpful. I don't think so. We know the name. I try not to say the name. We know that ugly ass face and that, the way there used to be that, was it like you tanning bed kind of thing, and those little goggly things right there. That the blonde Nazi. I mean, we know that, the blonde Hitler. I mean, we know that. And, and again, thinking about it, it is just strange. It's real sad. Again, so much of this, thinking about persons that, seem, some people might say that's a really intelligent person. Well, I mean, how do you gauge, what is intelligence? How do you determine intelligence? What are your criteria for intelligence? Sure, if that person seems intelligent to you because you went through school and you're taught that's what intelligence is, then sure, but what is that person doing? Is that intelligence? Again, when there is dictatorship, um, when there is dictatorship, I things that reinforce that person's presence in one way or another, that I don't think that helps in putting an end to it. That's my perspective. Maybe people disagree. Um, everyone is a little bit different, but I don't think it's a good thing. I know for me, when I see it, it's just like, yeah. I mean, how about somebody bring that reality show back to life if it isn't on, and get him to be back on that show, and maybe he could even compete. And And who would be the persons on there judging or whatever he did? I don't know, 'cause TV is just yeah, anyway, yeah, just some thoughts as we survive and yeah, and help get people out of harm's way and the call out the harm that is being done.